Hello and welcome back to St Michael's Hill. This week it's the August update and I'll be honest, not a lot has been going on in August on the layout for one reason only. That's right, I got married this month, so a lot of my time, certainly towards the end of the month, has been spent kind of preparing for that and then having some time off afterwards, which was really nice. Thank you to all of you who'd commented on Facebook on my kind of post. It's really nice to kind of have some people sharing their kind words around the wedding. So thank you to those people. I had managed to do a little bit before the wedding, so there is some things to show you for sure. So without too much of a wait, I will get on with that. First of the projects that I worked on this month actually has its own video, so I'll link to that in the description below if you're interested. But it was working on this new kit from Railway Laser Lines, which is based on the Cardiff Toten kind of pump room. Actually a kit that I spoke to Steve about developing, and he was kind enough to go away and do that, so I've put that together. I'm really pleased with how that looks. It's going to end up on the layout, so obviously this area down here, which is currently paint storage, and for the laptop is where the depot will be, so it will be somewhere just under the laptop, in this V section between the tracks. That's where I'm planning on having it once the depot is up and running. As part of the build process for the pump room, I came up with a new kind of technique for the mortar lines, which I then have gone and applied to the Toten building. So I've gone back and started to add mortar lines for that. There's still a bit more work to do. The corners tend to get quite clogged up with the stuff, so I need to get the sanding out and just sand that back, and then maybe apply a little bit of weathering. But on the kind of flat surfaces, you can see it goes on quite nicely, and it does still leave the paint job underneath as it was. So where this was like slightly weathered before, it kind of maintains those colours, which is very nice. Like I said, there's still bits that need to be done on that, but I'm very happy with how it's looking. The next job will be to tackle the depot. Again, just feel that it could do with a little bit more weathering, and certainly these mortar lines, so I will work on that before that goes onto the layout. The other thing that I will be doing over the next month or two, I'm not sure whether I'll get around to it in September, is fully detailing this with lights, guttering, and other bits and pieces, just to both make it my own even more, but also just bring it out a little bit more. But yeah, certainly looking forward to that project. Another project that I worked on this month is the Dogfish Wagon in the middle of your screen there. That was a Cambrian kit build, which I built, painted and weathered. Again, there's a full video on that, so I'm not going to go too much detail, but it was good fun to do. Obviously sits in amongst the Heljan ones, so I'm going to end up getting probably a few more of these to make a longer length train. At the moment I've teamed it up with some sea lines, and that looks fairly nice, but it would be good to be able to run a full rake of the Dogfish Wagons, as often that was the case back in the 1990s, and probably as long as they were running, they were run with other things, but also in fairly long trains with only other Dogfish Wagons. If you want to see the full build video, I will again link in the description below. I was quite pleased with how that one came out after a fairly difficult start, so probably well worth checking out if that interests you. When it comes to the actual layout, progress has been fairly slow. I think last month I'd started to lay this front line, but hadn't got to the points there. But I've obviously finished that off. The point is still not laid connected, so that's why it looks, the angles look a little bit odd. I've also laid the middle track here, that goes back to the where the fiddle yard starts, and the rear track has been spaced and fixed, but obviously not been laid yet, so don't worry the fact that the rails don't meet each other. That's it's not a problem at this stage, certainly not been laid at all. So they're just in place, and that'll be the next job to do. Once I'm kind of down to the point section here, it's then just round the corner, and it'll be, all the track will be laid on the layout. The depot entrance, I've obviously popped a bit of cork down. That's going to kind of run through here with the bullhead rail, and it will then go up onto this section. So I'm really hoping over the next month that's going to be what I focus on a lot more, trying to get the track laying complete for the main loops and started on the depot. Simultaneously, I'm going to be wiring up the fiddle yard and trying to kind of get some movement on the trains, because I did not manage to get that done over the last month, but very much those are the two areas that I'm going to be focusing on the next month. So hopefully for September's update there'll be some movement, and hopefully a complete loop of track will be completed. That's very much the plan. This month has seen a few new additions to the fleet. It's been quite a while since I bought anything for the layout, but there were a few bits that came up this month that I kind of really couldn't turn my nose up at. First of which is this V-Trains or V-Trains Class 37156. This is obviously in Dutch livery and pretty much in kind of a pristine brand new condition. I picked it up second hand for about 65 quid. It was missing the kind of detailing on the ends, but it's not a problem as I've got another Class 37 which I've only detailed one end of, so it's not a problem at all. This loco, I believe, spent most of its life in kind of the northern and Scottish area. The name of it, British Steel Hunterston, I believe is a depot that's kind of up north, but I might be wrong there. I'm going to re-identify it as 37158, and to do that I've picked up a few detailing parts from Shoreplan. So I've picked up a new fan grille, so that's going to be coming out and being replaced. 158 also had, and was probably one of the few that I've seen that had a radiator frost grille that goes over the main grille here, so that's something that I've picked up. As well as that, I'm going to change the glazing for the laser glaze that Shoreplan do. It was always going to be kind of the case, but this loco also has kind of some, looks like damage to the front windscreens anyway, so that's really not a problem. Hopefully help me get a slightly cheaper model. In addition, I've got some Canton depot plates, as 158 was a Cardiff Canton based loco. And finally, I've got some HBR arrows, which I may or may not include. The loco certainly had them during kind of the early 90s, but by 1997, I believe the HBR arrows had gone, so sometime during the period that I'm modelling. So I'm going to have a look around various pictures and decide whether I want to keep those etched arrows or just won't include them, and I can keep them for another loco. As well as these kind of details, the paint job needs to be probably faded quite a bit. The V-Trains, certainly the yellow is always a little bit kind of bright, so that will need to be faded down. And generally towards the mid to late 90s, the loco was in a perfectly serviceable state, but certainly had a lot of fading on it. So I'm going to give that a go and weather it up accordingly. Next up, I got a couple of the cargo wagons from Heljan in the kind of unbranded state. I was always a fan of these wagons, and I got a couple quite a while back, but the prices on eBay were getting a bit ridiculous. So I was very, very happy when I saw that Heljan were basically producing some more. I believe they are flying off the shelves, especially the branded versions, but I was quite keen to get a couple of these unbranded ones. So I've got a couple of these, and they will end up making part of the fleet for kind of the covered steel trains and enterprise trip working. So very pleased to have those on board. They're very nice wagons. The tooling is, I probably was very, very good for its day, although now they are a little bit older. They kind of They're in some ways quite simple, but very nice wagons overall, and very, very pleased to have them joining the fleet. Next up is another loco that I managed to pick up this month. It said it was second hand, but pretty much it's pristine, brand new condition, never been run. So very, very pleased to kind of have this as part of the fleet. It's 56037 in a rail freight, I believe that's construction livery. This loco will end up staying the same number, but being kind of brought forward a little bit in terms of date, and will end up being a Transrail loco. In theory, this should be a fairly simple job. However, there are a few things that kind of change that really. The first thing is that the handrails at the front are a little bit wrong. The top one should really be a split handrail, certainly for the period where it was in Transrail livery. I'm not sure if it was always the case and whether this model actually was tooled right for the livery it was in, but certainly by the time it was in Transrail, the top handrail was a split one. The second thing, and probably the biggest thing, is that whilst delivery should really be a quick move by removing the rail freight sectorisation kind of imagery and then replacing it with Transrail livery, the colours are just kind of completely wrong. The dark grey strip up here is just very, very much too dark, and the bottom one again is probably too dark and has kind of a almost greeny hue to it. So I probably will need to respray the whole loco, or at least the body sides of the loco, to kind of get a loco that I can really work with and put the Transrail branding on. But that should be quite a fun task. A Transrail Class 56s were very, very common in South Wales around this time, so it really was a loco that I needed to have in the fleet. So very pleased to have it on board. It obviously needs all of its detailing attached to the front and all that sort of thing, and I will probably, depending on how it runs, end up cutting the kind of band that runs these fans, because they tend to be completely useless. So I'll see how it goes, but that's quite a possibility that will end up happening. The last thing to show you for this month in terms of arrivals are these Cavalex BBA wagons. These have actually only arrived today, so I haven't had a chance to really have a look at them yet. Certainly will do, and I'm planning to do a review of them on next week's video. The first impressions overall are absolutely stunning, especially the kind of grated floor. As you can see, not very easy to see there, but you can see right through the wagons, but you can see the fine metal grating all over. They are very, very good. As well as that, there seems to be kind of lovely detail throughout. So these are going to be very much kind of at home on the fleet. The colour of them is quite interesting. So these wagons were generally supplied from new with kind of black sole bars and underframes and kind of red ends. However, Cavalex, whilst offering those, are also offering this kind of brown version, which is basically a kind of undercoat for weathering. These wagons ended up being quite rusty, kind of have that kind of bauxite kind of look to them. So this basically just gives a good starting point to adding weathering. So that's what these will end up looking like. Very, very nice wagons overall though. These, like I said, will get a full review over the next week once I've had a chance to kind of really have a good look at them and compare them to the prototypes to see how accurate they are. So if you are interested in that, next week you should see that video go live next Saturday morning. So there we go. I hope you found that interesting. Obviously not too much has gone on this month with the wedding, which is completely understandable, but some new additions to the fleet. Hopefully next month I'll be able to kind of get on with the track laying and the wiring, and hopefully get some trains moving for the first time on the new layout, which will be an absolute godsend. I am actually starting back at work on September the 1st after my furlough, so maybe the progress will be a little bit slower than it has been in June and July certainly, but hopefully a little bit quicker than has been going on in August. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me today on St Michael's Hill, and I'll see you very soon. Bye bye.